For lesson 6.5, we're going to find out the surface areas of cones. And the essential question is basically the same thing as the title. How can you find the surface area of a cone? A cone is a little different than finding the surface area of a cylinder because you have one base and you have a side that is going to be curved. And when you open it up, it's not going to be a rectangular form or a triangular format. It's going to be actually part of a circle. So let's take a look at it. Let's say we have a cone with a radius of r and a slant height of L. We are going to open it up to see the net of this cone, and you're going to notice that we have a circle and another circle, but it's not going to be completely closed. It's going to be a portion of the circle. So we're going to see, first we have a circle that we know how to find out the area, which is going to be pi r squared. And then for this one, it's hard to understand why you end up using this equation. If you want to watch a video, I can give you a link as well, but it's going to be a lot more complicated. So what you're going to use is this formula, pi times r times L. So we already know pi, r is going to be the radius, and L is going to be the slant height. And that's the only thing that you really need to know to work on this lesson. So let's say we have this cone with a diameter, or actually radius, of 2 feet and a slant height of 6 feet. We're just going to plug it in, and for this lesson, instead of solving for pi, I am going to leave the pi as it is, and then going to calculate that at the end of our equation. So let's see. Surface area equals pi 2 squared plus pi times 2 times 6. And you're going to simplify that, and you're going to have 4 pi plus 12 pi. And you're going to have the final answer of 16 pi. Now once you have 16 pi, you're going to either use 3.14 or the pi symbol to calculate your answer. So for 16 pi, if I use 3.14, you're going to end up with 50.24. And if you're using the pi symbol, it's going to be quite similar answer that you're going to have. So really the essential part is to know how to find out the radius and the length and to plug it into this equation that we have here, so that we can plug it in and find out the answer. And like I said, calculate the pi at the end so you can have more accurate number. Let's go ahead and have another practice question. So let's say we have a cone with a radius of 4 centimeter and a slant height of 8 centimeter. First, I'm going to rewrite the surface area formula, pi times radius squared plus pi times r times L, and then I will plug in the number that I have here so that I can find out the information for the final surface area. I have first part, the area of the circle, which is going to be pi times 4 squared, which is the same thing as pi times 4 times 4, and then add that with pi times 4, which is r, times 8, which is L. So I have pi times 4 times 8. Now, like I said, I'm not going to work on this yet with a pi symbol. I'm going to work on the numbers first. So I have 4 times 4, which is 16. So I have 16 pi for the area of the circle. Plus, I have 4 times 8, so that's 32. So I have 32 pi for the side. And then I'm going to add the two numbers. I can only add these two numbers because I have both pi at the end. So when I add 32 plus 16, that's going to give me 48 pi. My last step is to work on 48 times pi. You can either use, like I said, 3.14 or the pi symbol. If you use 3.14 times 48, it's going to give you 150.72. And if you would use the actual pi symbol, you're going to have 150.796, so I'm going to just round it up as 80. And you'll have to make sure you include centimeters squared for your final answer. The second part is going to be finding a slant height of a cone. So sometimes you're going to have a cone and you're going to have the radius and the surface area of the cone, but you're not going to have the measurement for the length. I don't know why they do that, but they do that sometimes. So what you're going to do is first you're going to write the equation as if you are writing everything down to solve it. But instead of not knowing the surface area, you know that the surface area is going to be already given to you. So I think it's easier for you to work with an example question. So I'm going to give you an example question, and you're going to have a cone with a radius of 5 meters and the surface area of the cone as 100 pi square meters. So as you notice, I'm not going to have the pi calculated into it yet until I find out the slant height. So I'm going to write out the equation. S equals pi r squared plus pi times r times L. And I know my surface area is 100 pi equals, and I'm going to put pi radius squared, which is 5 squared, plus pi times 5 times L. Because I don't know what the slant height, or L, is, I'm just going to use the letter L. Once I work with the circle part, it's going to be 25 pi plus 5 times pi times L. Now, I cannot add 25 pi and 5 pi because 5 pi needs to be multiplied by L. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 25 pi from each side so that I can work with 5 pi L on one side and then a number on the other side. When I do that, my answer on the left is going to change into 75 pi equals 5 pi times L. In order to find out the L, I'm going to divide both sides by 5 pi, which is going to give me really 75 divided by 5 because I can cross out the pi's on each side, the top and bottom. So I have my L equals 75 divided by 5, which is going to be 15. So my slant height is going to be 15 meters. So I know it can be a little bit confusing. So let's go ahead and work on a sample question to practice. So let's take a look at this question. This question will have the radius of 7 inches, and we don't know the slant height, so it's going to be L inches, and I have the surface area of 105 pi. So again, we're going to set up the equation, and I'm going to just write down the equation one more time just to make sure that I'm following through each step. So I have the equation S equals pi times r squared plus pi times r times L. I have the surface area of 105 pi, so I have that on the left side. And I'm going to have pi times r squared, which is 7 squared. So I have 7 times 7, 49 pi, plus, I don't know what L is, so I'm going to leave that as L. So I have 7 pi L. It really doesn't matter if the order of the pi and the number changes because of the multiplication property. You can just switch the parts in different order and it's still going to give you the same answer. And when you do that, you're going to have to now subtract 49 pi on each side. So you can have 7 pi L on the right side and you can solve for L. So when I subtract 49 from 105, I'm going to have 56 pi equals 7 pi L. So now I'm going to divide both sides by 7 pi, which will end up with, after simplifying the pi and everything, it's going to be 8. So my slant height, L, is going to be 8 inches. So again, you're following the formula. As long as you're following the formula, it's going to be the same operation. For your homework, it's going to be from page 280 in your textbook, and you're going to have questions 4 through 9 with just finding the regular surface area of a cone. You just have to be careful with the diameter and radius, because one of them will have a diameter instead of radius for you. And then from 10 to 12, you're going to find the slant height L. So this is going to be the second part that we worked on. So you have the surface area given to you, and you have the radius or diameter given to you, and you just have to find out the slant height. And for 13, you have to find out the material that's used to make a Vietnamese hat. And basically, it's kind of like finding the area of the label or the lateral area. So you don't have to find out the base, which is going to be the circle part, but you just use pi times r times L to find out the lateral side area of the hat.